Nadeem Bukhari notes. Linguistics. Bilingualism. Para number 1. When a person can speak 2 languages with almost the same competence, is called a bilingual. And this linguistic phenomenon is termed as bilingualism. In contrast, if an individual can speak or interact in only one language is called monolingual, and the linguistic situation is known as monolingualism. Similarly, multilingual refers to the individual who has the ability to communicate in more than 2 languages. As a matter of fact, there are very few speech communities which are totally monolingual because of the existence of linguistic minority groups within their boundaries. In studies on bilingualism, the focus of attention has been on the many kinds and degrees of bilingualism and bilingual situations which exist. The study of bilingualism is important in the way it involves the analysis of social, psychological, and national concerns. Para number 2. Some countries are officially bilingual in the sense that they have 2 official languages, national or regional. 2 well-known examples of officially bilingual countries are Canada and Belgium. An equally well-known example of an officially multilingual country is Switzerland. Many countries, though not officially bilinguals, have 2 different languages spoken within their borders. As a matter of fact, all are bilinguals in the sense that their members commonly use 2 languages in their daily life. Again, it is not the case that all the elitizens of an officially bilingual country use or even know more than 1 language. Para number 3. Various forms of bilingualism have been identified by sociolinguists. One type is between compound and coordinate bilingualism, based on the extent to which the bilingual sees the 2 languages as semantically equivalent or non-equivalent. Another type is between various methods of learning the 2 languages, e.g. learning the 2 languages simultaneously in childhood or through formal instruction. The third type is perceived between the various levels of abstraction at which the 2 linguistic systems operate. We can admit, as a theoretical ideal, the possibility of perfect bilingualism, defined as the full range of competence in both languages. Perfect bilingualism, if it exists at all, is extremely rare, because it is rare for individuals to be in a position to use each language in a full range of situations and thus to acquire the requisite competence. However, it is not uncommon for people to approximate to perfect bilingualism by being equally competent in both languages over a fairly wide range of situations. In cases of far from perfect bilingualism, one language will be dominant and the other subordinate. And it has been suggested that the use of the subordinate language involves a process of translation from the dominant language at a fairly superficial, though not necessarily conscious level of psychological programming of utterances. Para number 4. Similarly, there are many different kinds of bilingual communities, different in respect of whether one language is clearly dominant or not for most members, whether one language is dominant for some, but not for others, whether some members approximate to perfect lingualism or not, whether both languages are acquired simultaneously or not, and so on. However, regardless of these differences, there is one thing that most, if not all, bilingual communities have in common: a fairly clear functional differentiation of 2 languages in respect of what many sociolinguists refer to as domains. For example, one such domain might be the home, this being defined in terms not simply of the actual place where the conversation occurs, but also of the participants, the topic of conversation, and the other relevant variables. Thus, one language may be the language of the home, in the sense that it would always be used in talking informally with other members of the family at home about domestic matters. However, another language may be used outside the home or inside the home when strangers are present or when the topic of conversation is other than domestic. Para number 5. A situational change in the value of one of the variables that define a domain may result in code switching. For example, two people conducting business in Urdu in Pakistan might suddenly switch to English, or if they are fellow members of the same ethnic linguistic subgroup, to a local language like Punjabi, when the topic of conversation changes from business proper to more personal matters. The same kind of code switching has been noted in many bilingual communities. In Pakistan, it has been between Saraiki, Punjabi, Urdu, and English, etc. In Canada, between French and English, and so on. Para number 6. Another linguistic phenomenon which relates to bilingualism is that of code mixing. It is a common observation in bilingual communities for people to use two codes simultaneously. For example, an Urdu-speaking person may insert words, phrases, and sometimes sentences from the English language into his conversation in the Urdu language. The reasons for code mixing could be various. People like to mix English words with interaction in Urdu due basically to the importance of English as a social dialect in the country. Then there are certain areas in which people feel better qualified to express themselves partially in English. This situation is very common in Pakistan.